You hear the old stories, sweet enough to play on a bard's lute. They always start the same.
Yeah?
Something like, once upon a time in a world not unlike a dream.
Galaxy far, far away?
Sometimes I wonder if this is all just that. A story. Yours. Mine. Maybe the tavern owner's.
Not in a tavern.
All of Skyrim. 'Tis a cold drink of ale poured into a frozen glass. That's why I'm always at the lighthouse. Just to take it all in before it melts away.
Why does no one ever just say hello?
What about you, stranger? What about this city speaks to you?
Why does no one just say hi? What's wrong with hi? What's wrong with the how do you do? What's wrong with just introducing yourself? I came for the fresh air.
I understand that all too well. I migrated from Solitude. Every structure there is like a mausoleum.
What made you leave Solitude?
Solitude, for lack of a better word, is suffocating. It's not just the walls and the people. It's the inside of the buildings, too. They all have the same thick, musky smell, like the kind that you find in abandoned shacks, with boarded-up windows, where the air is freckled with dust. Only in Solitude, the windows are frosted. And when the light gets filtered through them, even the sun feels cold.
Tell me about yourself.
The name's Jasper Gerston. I'm a raider. Aspiring raider. I always forget that word. Funny how large the chasm is between the two.
Have you written anything notable?
I've tried. In fact, when I was in Solitude, I wrote maybe hundreds of tales. But none worth reading. I was still maturing then, looking for my voice. I would look back on something I penned a week before, and shake my head at how shallow the words were. How empty they felt. I began to doubt if I could write anything of substance, and found my solace at the bottom of a flagon.
What do you mean by that? Where did you go to drink?
I spent my nights at the Winking Skeever, and my mornings outside his door. Even Octave Son found my behavior uncouth. One night, Corpulus got fed up, kicked me out into the streets, and told me to never come back. That's when I met my muse.
Let me guess, she was a beautiful damsel. That dour attitude all makes sense now. This is really about a woman.
No, not this time. Probably never will. My muse was different. He was a warrior. An orc.
Who was this orc?
He was a titan, with arms like tree trunks cut from the great forest. Only, something wasn't right about the way he looked at the tavern sign. When I asked him what was wrong, he managed to force out a word. His bottom lip quivered like a child who just dropped a sweet roll. The word he said was Skeever. It was a giant, with shoulders larger than the domes of the Blue Palace. And he was absolutely terrified of rats.
What happened next?
That night, for the first time, I wrote with purpose. There was none of the doubt or fear that marred my previous work. The words came faster than I could jot them down. For 3 days and 3 nights I continued. When I was done, I knew the work was true. It was the best manuscript I had ever written. was the best I could ever write.
Did you manage to publish it?
I tried. I bound the book and took it to a writer named Donato Liatelli. I told him the author was anonymous. Said so right on the first page. I didn't want his opinion colored by my presence. I'm not sure it would have mattered.
He probably realized it was you.
You know what he told me? He said the story read like it was written by a blacksmith. And that's when I knew I was still aspiring. And maybe always will be.
Successful people often get dismissive of unknown works. By the divines, give it up, get a real job picking up weed or chopping wood. You should write a story about werewolves and vampires. That never gets old. Yeah. Successful people often get dismissive of unknown works.
And the delusional often exaggerate their own worth. I could be a genius ahead of his time. A writer without peer. I could be a failure who doesn't belong. Scribbling words that have no soul. To walk either path is to go down a lonely road. But that is Skyrim.
That book you wrote, The Stone Hand, I've read it, or at least I picked it up, which counts as reading something in Skyrim.
I see. You must have been curious to seek out one man's trifle in a world full of them.
Well, there was a quest marker.
I almost feel the need to apologize for wasting your time.
Your book was terrible. It's better off as kindling. It was extremely well written. Adonato was wrong to dismiss it. Apologize to Al-Hassan. He's the one you're attributing that mess of prose to. Oh. There's no kind of like neutral one, huh? There's no just kind of like, well. You know what? Let me read it real fast.
Until next time.
You just stand there. I'm going to look at your book real fast. Okay. It's not the worst, but...
Yes?
It's, not the best either.
I see. You must have been curious to seek out one man's trifle in a world full of them. I almost feel the need to apologize for wasting your time.
Apologize to Al-Hassan. He's the one you're attributing that mess of prose to.
I take it that's the name of the blacksmith. You're right. It was childish of me to burden him that way. Childish and cowardly. If I had any integrity at all, I would have just burned it. I would have silenced his broken voice. But part of me still wanted to believe there was someone out there who would listen. Someone to lend an ear to its dying whisper.
Good or bad, the critique was odd. Blacksmiths are simple. Your book was not.
I admit, I never thought of that. Is it possible he never bothered to read it? I wonder if I should get a second opinion. But I don't know if my heart could take another rejection.
Well, I've seen worse drivel get published. Let me find someone for you. Not a problem. I'll find someone who will give it an honest critique.
I almost don't want to open that door, give in to hope. But if you're willing to do this, I can keep my eyes to the east. You may find someone back west, where the story was conceived. Back in solitude.
Where do you think you're going?
If you've come to file another complaint, I won't deign to hear it. If my presence is that much of an issue, tell it to the steward.
Hey, Falk's my best friend. I'll tell
Everyone whines
him.
and moans about how loosely I flap my tongue, as if Thane Erikur's eccentric love life were not a matter of public knowledge. And for the last time, I am not a Thalmor agent here to destabilize the court. You're thinking of my terribly unfashionable twin sister, Mithril.
Nithriel and
My
Mithril.
name, on the other hand, is Nithriel, and I am both an attendant of the court and someone worthy of your confidence.
You're right.
Okay, I'm curious. What's so eccentric about Eriker's love life?
Well, let's just say Thane Eriker prefers to do his shopping in the dungeon rather than the marketplace.
Ooh.
On some days, he'll even emerge with a sack that rattles so violently it betrays its contents as he walks. Although I think, and you didn't hear this from me, that Erikur isn't the one doling out the punishment. He strikes me as someone who likes to be bent over a chair with a gag in his mouth.
Oh.
His sister, on the other hand, is another story.
Okay. I mean, some people prefer to be submissive. It's not your place to judge. Maybe he's a sexual pioneer in Skyrim. You don't know.
Oh, I don't know. But I suppose we all have our own preferences. I'm more curious about yours.
Not you.
Does the adventurer fancy a demure, submissive female?
I'm married. I enjoy someone with a sense of humor, which Zora definitely has.
Then you're better off meeting one of the food vendors in Eastmarch. The selection of cuisine there is completely laughable.
Would you describe yourself as a gossip?
I'm not a gossiper, just gregarious. I don't embellish. It's just the facts don't convey the spirit of what really happens. I'm not high maintenance, just high-minded. When I
like
petition
that.
for funding for a party or festival, or new robes for the Thanes, I do so with purpose. Nobles cannot simply skulk around like common thieves. We must present ourselves in a fashion befitting our rank.
I have no clue why people think you gossip. Everything you say is a fact. Gossip is gossip. Your euphemisms do little to change that. Good, I've been dying to tell someone my darkest secret. I don't wear socks. Gossip is gossip. Your euphemisms do little to change that.
Only because there's a misconception that gossip is harmful. Although granted, what I do isn't exactly for anyone's benefit but my own.
Mm-hmm.
Yet can you imagine how droll conversation would be without speculation? It would lose all its luster, its mystery and imagination. If I told you that Rogvir sabotaged Sorex's chances with Vivienne, you might be interested. But what if I told you Rogvir had a taste for men? Why, the story would have an entirely new twist, would it not? Such a scandal.
Okay. To be honest, both those scenarios bore me to tears.
Oh, don't try to deny it. There isn't a person alive who doesn't adore a good love triangle. Especially one where it's not particularly clear who is in love with whom.
So... given your reputation, why would people tell you anything?
For one, I'm an excellent listener. People are willing to divulge things to me without even taking into account whether I can provide sage advice. Second, I'm delightful to speak with. Not only do I have interesting rumors to share, but I can relate them in ways that spark your imagination.
How so?
For instance, if I were to tell you Elisif trusts Folk Firebeard with everything, you would likely nod your head and praise the steward. Then we'd begin to dwell on the awkward silence that followed, and proceed to start hating each other and ourselves for not being more interesting. Now, if I were to tell you that Jarl Elisib trusts Folk Firebeard with everything, and perhaps curl my lips into a smile, I imagine you would have little difficulty formulating a reply.
I just need to find out a publisher. So what exactly are your responsibilities?
As a court attendant, I mostly deal with acquiring clothes, silverware, and other accessories from merchants both local and overseas. The Blue Palace cannot have its residents dressed like common rubes. And by rubes, I mean the lesser nobles that inhabit the other holds. Unfortunately, much of the clothing I had recently shipped in by the East Empire Company was deemed too impractical given Skyrim's frigid weather.
What sort of garments?
Nothing like these peasant bodices the Nords wear. They were garments truly fit for the divine race.
Oh cool, your races too.
You should have seen the quality of lace I had brought in from the Somerset Isle. Silks and linens embroidered with silver and gold. It's rather difficult to feel like oneself, let alone a divine wearing these thick coats and furs.
It's cold.
I suppose I will have to make my face all the more stunning to compensate.
And you clearly haven't done that. Some say a little gossip never hurt anyone.
That still implies that gossip itself is a negative, akin to a paper cut or a particularly vexing housefly. However, I believe it ties the community together. The more we know about each other, the more intimate our relationship.
I like my privacy.
Gossip is inclusive. It allows outsiders such as yourself to easily join the conversation.
Just looking for a publisher, ma'am.
Spend an hour with me, and you'll know everything about everyone, and truly feel like one of the locals.
Just need some information. I've been with you for a few minutes, and I already need a bath.
Fine. Then I will speak with someone who appreciates what I have to say instead of belittling it.
Yeah. Oh, you're back, huh?
It's you. You've been the talk of the town.
Oh, God, you're terrifying. Oh, man. Well, I only have the one option, unless I gotta go back. Oh, whoops, there were just way more options, never mind. I'm wondering if you know anyone who could critique a book.
Well, yes. You came to the right elf. I know everything about everyone. In fact, you're quite the popular topic these days.
I am quite interesting.
So, before I share, I need to know if all the rumors regarding you and that Hagraven are true.
Oh, boy.
After all, I would never spread such lies without first confronting the person in question.
Which you are doing right now, yes. Hold on, if this is about Witchman's Grove, I was drunk, and whatever the rumor is, I assure you, it's completely true. Lies, lies and deception. I have been nothing but friendly to Hagravens. Well, I killed about 100 Hagravens and never stopped to get their names. I was drunk, and... no. I've killed 100, and I've never stopped to ask their names. I did even kill the one that I married, so you know.
As your newest and dearest confidant, I'm glad to hear it. They are wicked creatures and deserve no mercy. Now, I don't want to alarm you, but this may give credence to that other rumor that you have difficulties controlling your rage. One person even accused you of murdering an elderly woman and calling her a Hagraven. A rumor I squashed immediately on your behalf.
Lovely. Can you tell me a little bit about this book critic?
Gladly. I won't reveal my sources, but from what I hear, a certain publisher has been struggling to stay afloat. In a last-ditch effort, They've sent their minions all over Skyrim in search of the next great writer. One of these critics has limited his search to the winking skeever. Oh, but that's not the scandalous part, for it's not the drinking, but the fact that our critic bears a striking resemblance to one Minette Vinius. A bold person might accuse this critic of bearing an illegitimate child, especially given how gregarious she is compared to her so-called father. Of course, I would never levy such an accusation without proof.
I need a description of the man, you blabbering gossip, not his life story.
My. It seems the rumors about your temper are true. Don't worry, I'll do my best to keep it a secret.
No, you won't.
As for a description, it's unnecessary. The man always sits in the same seat, the stool on the right at the bar. They say it offers him a good view of the child. You take it, and he'll come to you.
Sit at the bar stool at the winking skeever. I don't like her. She's not really crazy about me. I made sure of that.
If you need a good rumor or two, I think I can oblige.
I've heard way too many
Feel
lately.
free to make requests.
Oh, thank you. You're not even playing right now.
Traitors, civil wars, dragons. Huh. Those troubles don't cross my doorway.
There's nothing like a good song to lift the spirit in troubled times.
Oh, is this him?
Divines bless you.
Is this
May the
him?
ground you walk quake as you pass.
I told
Yes.
Corpulus.
I
Have a
can't.
drink. Rest your feet and stay a little
Oh, I
while.
think it's him.
You
the
of
rest
all
of my
the
work.
mates that stroll through
I'm
here.
sorry to break
I
it to
think
you,
he's saying
Sherlock.
I'd
something.
arm
Students
wrestle
are
you
an
for it.
unfortunate-
Need something?
Uh-oh. A fellow bard. I best
I'm
not miss my
entirely sure
notes
what
or
he's
forget
saying.
any lyrics.
What good would that stool do me then?
Okay, yeah, whatever you just said,
Seems there's
everyone
always
talked
more
over
to be
you.
done.
The name's Flin, by the way. Author, publisher, and admirer of the female form.
Stop the lies, I know you're here to spy on your illegitimate daughter. Too bad you will stare at this male form and admire it, or leave. Stop the lies. I know you're here to spy on your illegitimate daughter.
I'm sorry, lad, but I haven't the slightest idea what you're talking about. I'm actually sterile, believe it or not. One of the great gifts the Bella granted me, and there's not a day I don't thank her for it.
Are you new in town?
Just got off the ship, as it were, fresh as a flounder. I came here to
Flounder.
pen my next great novel, and while I'm here, keep an eye out for talent. Of course, talent comes in many forms, and they never specified what kind. Why, just the other day, I had a delightful conversation with a high elf named Nithriel.
Oh God,
I
not
think
her.
She fancies writers.
Not her. It comes full circle. Oh. She probably just wanted to learn about you so she could spread more lies.
Is that so? Well, whatever she says, it can't be much worse than the truth.
Well, what's this new novel about?
Would you believe me if I said I hadn't decided? Inspiration is funny that way. There's so many stories to tell just in solitude alone. You hear about pirate tales, shadowy dealings, and news of war. I even heard a tale about a horker so large it wrecked a ship somewhere on the North Shore. But just because you have a story doesn't mean I'm the right voice to tell it. When it comes, I'll know.
Would I have read any of your works?
You might have. I've written countless epics, poems, and tales of heroism. Still, I'm best known for a terrible piece of tripe I wrote about 7 years ago, called The Duke of Beards.
The Duke of Beards? What's it about? You don't have a beard, you just have the handlebar mustache.
It was a book about a legendary barber, and bloody awful, which is saying something for a work of non-fiction. In fact, I once set out to burn every copy in Skyrim, but the thing took on a life of its own. Turns out that piece of rubbish was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Why do you say that?
The fame I received from that book gave me the coin and the authority to write what I love. They say one man's trash is another man's treasure, but for me, they were one and the same.
Speaking of books and authors, what do you think of this?
Let's see. Now, if I'm being perfectly honest, I would say this is apprentice-level work. But that being said, you've got talent.
Oh, it's not mine.
Of course. I'm assuming this manuscript is yours.
No, God, no. It was written by some blacksmith. It was written by a milk drinker named Gaspar Gerston. It's gonna sound like a lie, but it was actually written by a friend.
Of course. I can't tell you how many writers hand me manuscripts on behalf of their friends in hopes of getting an honest critique.
No, it's a real friend.
Regardless of his identity. One thing that's certain is that your friend lacks conviction. I can see it as plain as day on the page.
Does that mean it has no chance to be published?
I didn't say that. Although your friend may not like what I'm about to say.
He has a name.
With a little polish, we can turn this into a seller. It may not give him the acclaim he seeks, but it will put food on the table. The problem with young artists is that they're a bit too attached to their integrity. He may not go for it. On the other hand, better to be a mediocre artist than a starving one, and it'll give him the leverage to write something of substance.
Better to be a mediocre artist than a starving one. Man, I say that about my videos every single day. What sort of changes are we talking about here?
Well, for starters, we need to dumb it down a bit. A few cosmetic changes here and there ought to do it. We also need to make these paragraphs cleaner. They lack direction. It's something that can be fixed easily enough. Lastly, the main character's name. I can tell our friend hasn't spent much time around orcs. I think Bogach is a female name.
Bogak is fine. I think you've butchered Jaspar's work enough already. Name the character after me, George Zarkady. What about Gorbash?
Ah, now there's a strong orc name. I like it. All that's left now is to give my suggestions to your friend. If the final copy passes muster, I'd be more than happy to have it published.
Let's find
Safe
out.
travels.
I can see it going either way. He's either gonna love it, or he's gonna just be somewhat slightly okay with it.
What's on your mind?
I found you a publisher. He just needs a few changes.
By Debella, you mean someone wants to publish my book? Wait, what do you mean by changes?
Just some changes. You said you're talented, but your prose needs to be cleaner.
I know. It's something I've been wrestling with ever since I realized Aldonado lied to me. After you left, I dug up some old drafts on that novel, hoping to find some vindication. What I found was a stranger. I don't recognize the person that wrote those words.
What do you mean?
The inspiration was there, but not the voice to shape its thoughts. Yet now, I feel confident I can make it heard. I can tell the story of this orc the way it was meant to be written. If
You
you'll give
can?
me a few days to rewrite it, I'll have something for you. Unless there was something else you wanted to add.
We also need to change the protagonist's name to Gorbash.
Well, I'm not married to the name. To be frank, I wasn't sure if Bogart was authentic. I'll leave that to you and the publisher to decide.
Look at his raised eyebrow.
I'll get to work on it right away. Come back in a few days. I should have something for you. Until next time. Yes? Good. What's on your mind?
How's the rewrite coming along?
Actually, it's done. I can't say for sure if the publisher will like it. At this point, I don't really mind if he doesn't. All it means is I have room to grow. I know I'm still aspiring, and my journey is far from over. Still, the fact that he was willing to listen, and you were willing to help, means it's also far from hopeless. Here.
The stone hand added. Oh, and he added his name this time. Aww. Let me take a look through it. Let me see if I can see any actual notable differences. It definitely seems better. It definitely seems improved. So, I'm happy about that. Let's see what our new friend has to say.
Greetings.
I've brought you Jaspar's rewritten manuscript. Also, you're sitting in the other stool. You made this whole stink about me sitting on that one. And here you are, sitting on the other one, huh?
And here I thought the story of the orc with the stone hands would never get told. Glad to see you've kept it safe. Now, let me take a look.
He's gonna hate it.
Now this, my friend, is a story.
Oh!
Give me a season or two, and the name Jaspar Gersten will be known from here to Strozemkai.
Mackay.
Here, take this gold. Half is for you, and the other half is an advance for our newest writer.
This is a happy ending! You implied before it could be commercially successful but an artistic failure.
Aye, I did. That was a mistake on my part. I never thought our writer could make such improvements in such short amount of time. Unless, of course, this manuscript was written a long time ago.
It was.
Either way, the growth is there, as is the talent.
Man, that's great.
Safe travels.
That's good. I'm glad. Oh, I feel like half these stories have weird / sad endings. So having a happy one, that makes me
Divines bless
happy.
you.
And if
May the
I'm
ground
happy,
you walk quake as you pass.
well, I was gonna say if I'm happy, but you already knew that. If I'm happy, man, who would have guessed? Who would have figured that one out?
Can I help you?
Your work is getting...
Goodbye. Huh?
Your work is gonna be published. Congratulations.
Wow. I don't know what to say.
Say thank you. Give no gold. While you think of something here, in advance for your work. Maybe let's get your tongue waggling. Here, your advance. You deserve every piece. He does deserve every piece.
400 septims. I said Are you sure? This is too much.
I mean, I got a lot of money.
Thank you.
I got a lot of money. So, you know. It wasn't that big of a deal.
It was to me. But if you don't mind, I'd like to ask you one more thing before you go. Who exactly is this publisher in Solitude?
I like how you didn't ask before that. A fellow writer by the name of Flin Horstad.
Flin Horstad? The man who wrote The Duke of Beards? Suddenly I'm not so sure I trust his endorsement. But I confess, I haven't read his recent work. I I've heard that it's far more substantial.
Even he said his old work is dribble.
In any case, I'm grateful to you both.
Even he thinks it's dribble.
Now when I look out from the lighthouse, I no longer feel so much despair. I feel hope.